martes, conversaciones con audiencia local bilingüe. Tune in to Café Latino, Thursdays at 10 a.m.
Welcome to Cafe Latino. As every week, I invite amazing people, and today is no exception. I invite my good friend Gary Pan. How you doing, Gary?
All right, Laura, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. Well, Cafe Latino is just a place to take a coffee with me without coffee because we cannot have liquids over here. So, but it's just a conversation with me, with the community. So, the first thing I like to talk about with my guests is tell us a little about yourself. Where did you born? What did you study? Just a little about yourself.
Okay, well, let's start with my parents, actually. They came over from China.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I grew up in Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
I went to school at Lehigh University where I studied electrical engineering and minored in legal studies.
Mm-hmm.
And I came down here about 30 years ago.
Wow.
For business. I got my first job down here, and I started my own company about 29 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I met my wife, Wendy,
Mm-hmm.
and we have 3 boys that we raised in this area.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been a fantastic dream.
So one of the things I know, I love stories. So the second thing I will ask, can you tell us your love story? Where did you meet your wife?
Oh, so I met my wife actually through work.
Look at
So
that.
we were working together, and of course, my name's Gary Pan,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to go find my wife, and it happened to be Wendy. So now I have Wendy Pan, kind of like Peter Pan.
Oh, you're right.
And then I have the 3 boys that are my lost boys. So it's all good.
Oh, that's
It goes with that
wonderful.
theme.
That's wonderful. So when you began your passion now you're running for a school, you're running for the Virginia House of Delegates.
Correct.
When did you come the idea to run for that position?
Well, so I've been very active in the community.
Mhm.
Ever since I've moved down here, and actually while I was in college, I was very involved in the community.
Mhm.
I'm all about helping others.
Yeah.
I'm a Scoutmaster for 15 years. I've worked with many hundreds of scouts, actually all over the world, whether it's locally, nationally, or at World Jamborees. And then also on top of that, I'm a Rotarian. So our motto is service above self. So
Okay.
it pretty much defines who I am throughout my entire life, service above self. So I thought a long time ago that I would go into, try to be in government and try to help our country.
Yes.
Even way back when I was in college, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to start doing work. I'm going to work on my business first.
Yes.
So, I'm at a point where I've had my business for quite some time, and it's, been very successful, and it was one more step to me trying to give back to the community. So, this past, actually last year, I started to think more and more about getting involved in government because, I saw that there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed at the local level, but also that had to be addressed at the Commonwealth level too. And there were a lot of people who were actually very tight in regards to their positions, and they, in my opinion, and talking with other people, it was a scenario where the sides were getting so polarized that so many people were being lost. Their voices were being not heard in the middle. And I said, this is a time when we need people who are more common sense, more moderate, more able to work across the aisle and get things done. So I jumped in.
So for the people that listen, is a lot of people that still don't understand this position about the House of Delegates. Can you explain us a little about what is the function of the House of Delegates and how is it structured?
So the way that the House of Delegates is structured is that there's 100 delegates throughout the entire Commonwealth,
Okay.
right? It acts kind of like at the federal level you would have Congress.
Uh-huh.
The House of Delegates is actually,
The equivalent?
is what?
The equivalent?
Is the equivalent, right?
Okay.
It's comparable to that.
Mhm.
And so it goes way back to the beginning of the Commonwealth in that, we wanted to have part-time people who were involved in the community, that were, had their businesses or or lived in different parts of the community, and they would come and assemble part-time every year to make sure that they could address and develop the laws that would govern the Commonwealth. That's what they were all about. So it's typically down in Richmond, delegates are down in Richmond for 45 to 60 days any given year.
Okay. And can you tell us, you're running for which numbers you do?
Yeah, so the 34th
Yes,
district.
34th, yes.
The 34th district is really a very complicated one because it covers 4 different areas.
Wow.
Great Falls, it covers all of Great Falls. It covers western McLean, northern Virginia, and eastern Sterling. So it goes actually over into Loudon a little bit as well. So it's
It's
really
huge.
a big space, and people have a hard time understanding, well, am I in your district or not? You know, and so we have to work with them, and we encourage them to go to something like some online to confirm who's my delegate or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are the main points that you are really want to work at if you become or when you become in the Virginia House?
Well, there's a lot of things that we need to look at. First and foremost, I believe that people who are in the House of Delegates really need to be thinking about the future. I mean, they're establishing laws. They're putting together budgets. These are things that are going to be proactive, things that are not, right in front of us immediately, but they need to be looking out and, helping us prepare for the future properly. So in that respect, one of the first things that comes to mind, and I've been knocking, as you know,
Yes.
on doors all year
Every
long.
day,
Okay, every
yes,
day.
yeah.
I'm out there, and it's just been delightful because I love meeting with my neighbors. I love listening to them. I love learning from them. It has just been a fantastic journey. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about here today come from my discussions with my neighbors,
Absolutely.
which is really important. I find that sometimes there's people in government that say, well, I know better. I know it's good for the citizens. And you know what? Yeah, but the reality is you're representing the citizens. You need to make sure that you're taking care of them. So,
Absolutely. That is something so unique. The thing is, you're really able to communicate with the constituents. And I think it's important because they need you, and you need to understand what they need,
absolutely. So, like I said, I've been very involved in scouting, in
Yeah.
Rotary, but also, I've been on a lot of other boards, like the Northern Virginia Technology Council Board,
Oh, wow.
the Wolf Trap Foundation for the Performing Arts
Mhm.
Board, Junior Achievement Board, the Multiple Sclerosis Society Board. So, I've been involved in the community, so I think that's really important to be able to have that insight, have the
Absolutely.
connections to try to make sure that we understand what our constituents, what my constituents would need. So, the things that we're looking at in regards to what the delegate should be looking at include the economy.
You can please drink water.
excuse me.
Absolutely.
The economy. Of course, jobs.
Transportation.
Well, that's important too. But I want to start with the economy. So we
Yes.
have Amazon here right now. It took us,
Yeah.
they're coming here. They're not here quite yet. They're starting to
Now we're
land.
preparing.
Exactly. We're really excited about that.
Yeah.
And then we have Tyson's. It's booming, right?
Absolutely.
And we have Leesburg, Reston. Our whole Northern Virginia area is just taking off, and it's just
It's
fantastic.
growing so fast.
But we need to be doing smart growth. So we need to make sure that we're, as delegates, looking at this type of situation, making sure that we have the right laws in place to encourage business to continue to flourish here. Okay. So that's the first off, because we can't be sitting here saying, oh, we scored Amazon or
Yeah.
some other companies. Like, we have a lot of hospitality and hotel companies that came to this area and saying, oh, that we're done. We have to think about the next stage.
Yes.
What's not 1 year out, but what's 5, 10, 15, 20 years out, and how do we have the courage to make laws and decisions to help us make sure that we make sure that our environment is going to be good. So that's the economy. We need, I think, part of that has to do with keeping our taxes low here in this area and making sure that we have prioritized spending, and then also the eliminating onerous regulations. So, but in order to have a vibrant economy, you have to have a couple other things. And I think that education and transportation support that. I mean, we
Yes.
want to make sure that our businesses are happy, and to do that, you need to make sure the workforce is happy.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need to make sure that your education and your transportation systems are adequate for the future, okay? Are appropriate for the future. So in regards to education, I think that we need to invest early into early childhood education. We can't wait for kids to get to high school to say, oh, let's try to supercharge them. It doesn't work that way. You just can't plug in something. You have to do it early and try to have those influences.
Absolutely.
The other thing is that not every kid needs to go to a college now.
That's
Okay.
something that the people have to remember. Not everybody is ready to college.
Yeah. I mean, as a Scoutmaster, I have tons of kids that, go to college, certainly, but I have tons of kids, in Scouts we do merit badges.
Okay,
And we do
fantastic.
really cool stuff there, and the kids do things that might direct them towards a career, right? Like maybe an engineering merit badge or something like that. But then there's also other merit badges that may be a hobby, right? So I know boys that have done welding merit badge,
Wow.
and now instead of going to college, they're actually getting welding certifications, which are going to give them very, very great jobs into the future.
Yeah,
Those
absolutely.
jobs are high in demand. So, I think that we have to be very sensitive to the fact that we need to have affordable education, right?
Absolutely.
And not everyone needs to take on all this debt. So if we have trade schools and we have certification programs,
Yes.
that's going to actually help out a lot of people and it'll keep them out of having disastrous debt.
The thing is that many students have coming out of college, they cannot find jobs. They have this debt, the loans, they're working just like in bartenders. It's just so really sad to see that, they took the decision to go to college, but they just didn't select the right major to be sure that they could do it, no?
Or they start off in college, realize they don't want to do it, took on this debt, never
They
finished.
Never finished, that's the other thing. And I believe that community college is a good option for many of them.
Oh, yes. So George Mason and Northern Virginia Community College are fantastic.
Amazing.
As I knock on doors, people are so excited about telling me that their kids go there. If you look back 15 years ago, people are like, well, I have to go to this private school,
absolutely.
prestigious, really expensive. But they're realizing that they're talking about ROI, return on investment,
Yeah,
and affordability.
absolutely. Yeah.
And they're really excited about it, and I'm excited about it. And the reality is Northern Virginia Community College and George Mason in particular, they do not get proper level of funding from the state that they should, okay? Compared to other school systems, schools downstate. Look at George Mason as an example. It is the fastest growing public university in Virginia. It's the largest public university in Virginia, and yet it doesn't get the same level of funding as the other schools downstate.
Yeah, that's
We need to
it.
fix that type of situation.
Absolutely. So besides transportation, education, any other issues that you would like to, economy, that you really want to, that how you listen that the people wanted to be fixed?
Yes. Well, the roads.
The roads, yeah.
Okay, transportation is abysmal. People are very concerned about not hitting traffic. That's the biggest one.
Oh, yes.
The tolls are so high that it's driven all the traffic into these other roads that typically weren't being used because Waze is pushing them away.
Yeah, just can't believe it is.
Yeah, so it's actually creating a very dangerous scenario because we have a lot of cut-through traffic that hasn't been there before, and people are unfamiliar with the roads, and drivers are getting into accidents. I tell you myself, 3 weeks ago, I was driving within a quarter mile of my house,
Yeah.
and I had a car coming right at me, jumping the double yellow line, and almost created a head-on collision.
Oh.
They told me they were trying to use the road as a cut-through to avoid tolls to try to get from Ashburn to Maryland. Now, my attitude is this: okay, I understand that we need to, be frugal and thrifty and stuff like that, and we have choices, but we need to make sure, as government people, that we have safe roads. We cannot wait till someone dies
Yeah, to solve the problem.
to solve the problem. We should be
Absolutely.
proactive about this type of situation.
And so it's very interesting. I'm totally agree that Tyson's is growing so much. Reston is incredible, growing like Arlington, but nobody is growing the streets. The street is still the same. So let me tell you, yesterday I was in Reston Town Center. To my house is like less than 3 miles. It took me 45 minutes to go to home because it was like 5 o'clock, and I had never lived that situation. So I had to go different ways. I just couldn't believe it that I couldn't move from Reston Town Center.
You could have walked faster,
Yeah,
right?
no, I couldn't. I was like, what's wrong with this? Everybody was coming up from work. So I really worried about they're bringing more buildings, more apartments, like 3 times the apartments, but they don't build in more streets. So, transportation is a big issue. So I'm so glad that you're focusing that.
Well, we also need to figure out how to make sure that we create more affordable living at the metro accessible areas.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that will really help us out as well. I mean, you know, when you go out from, you know, where you don't have metro, you don't have bus service, then you have to have drivers. But if we have great situations where we can,
Absolutely.
it's kind of like here, right?
Yeah.
Where this office is. I mean, over in Merrifield, this is a great example.
Mhm.
You can live, work, and play here, and that's fantastic. So we should continue to work on that type of model.
Yeah, because they have the metro, they have you know, this new area, the Mosaic is pretty new, and they have everything. They have cinemas, they have stores, they have restaurants. And I remember when I began to come here, the Fairfax Public Access, that is a school that train us for television and radio. It was nothing there, it was just empty. So I will put a little ad for a second and we come back here in Cafe Latino.
Spiritual radio program of the Kittis Slauson
This is
Ethiopian
great. This is
Orthodox
so
Church in
cool.
Northern Virginia. Tune in to hear
Oh.
preaching gospel, religious
So,
songs, and
I did go to the Korean radio station.
to this
It-
and new episodes.
We didn't have this stuff. This is really nice.
This is a real, but I have to be the engineer and the.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, that is the fun part. Yeah, it's just. So continue with the conversation. We have a couple more minutes. What would you like would you like to tell the community about? You know, it's almost November 5th. What would you like to tell the community?
Well, obviously, we want everyone to get out and vote. I mean, I tell my scouts that when they turn 18,
Yeah.
they should register to vote. I've told them that for years.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's really important for us to voice our, you know, make sure our voices are heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need, in my opinion, we need really strong leaders that have diverse backgrounds,
Mhm.
right? That don't need to go down and represent our communities in Richmond, but they want to, right?
Mhm.
We want to have people that are motivated, they're excited, and they're dedicated to, you know, that will make a difference down in Richmond. Part of the challenge right now is that there's a lot of people who are trying to fight, you know, to make sure that the balances change. Right now, the Republicans have 51 seats and the Democrats have 49 seats
Yes.
in the House of Delegates. And there's a lot of outside influences coming in from the West Coast and other
Yes.
places that are trying to change this this balance. And we need, you know, from my perspective, I'm very concerned about the extreme
Yes.
socialist agenda that could happen.
Absolutely.
Right to work be impacted. We have other things that are very scary that if we flip it, I'm just concerned that we'll go too far too fast, okay?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't consider new fresh
Yeah.
ideas, okay, that's not the thing. But just a tidal wave could be catastrophic for us. So I encourage everyone to get out and vote. You know, I consider myself, you know, more of an independent thinker,
Mhm.
you know, not beholden to any particular party. And I think
Yes.
that's the type of people that we really need at this
This is
time.
what we need. No radicals, just somebody that understands what is happening. And the fact that you have the experience, you know, the return on investment is something that should be applied everywhere,
Absolutely.
you know, in the school board and everything. But could you please tell the community where they can find more information about you?
Absolutely. My website is www.pan4virginia.com. And please feel free to send me an email there. November 5th is coming right up around the corner. We are going to be all over the community. Please go to my Facebook account as well, Pan for Virginia. And you will be able to see some of our upcoming events there.
Perfect. We are going to have a little break and we come back with you here in Cafe Latino.
We are Radio Fairfax.
So now you go sit down here.
Fairfax County's
And I will do our
internet
information.
radio station.